Hello everybody, Dave here for the next instalment of Dave Gets Wood, where I'm going to give these a bit of sanding and see if we need to, see if we're going to need to apply some more stripper to it. I'm hoping not, but it's possible that we might need to. I've also got a little bit of a repair, well not repair, but I need to try and smooth this bit of damage out. So basically what I'm going to do is just spend a bit of time sanding these with me fine pads. Now I'm going with the pads just to help me with the curvature of the edges, and hopefully just it's these are easy for me to hold, and they can go around the curvature, and we know that although they're fine, they're not so fine that they couldn't sort out this bit of damage. I also got another bit of paper for getting in the grooves, of which there's not many, but anyway, so I'm going to kind of face away from the camera so I can focus on doing this. Now the reason I've moved the camera is just so that you can sort of see more of what is happening and need on the old table. Now I'm not really intending on doing like loads of sanding on these. It is literally just a gentleish sand, just to get it cleaned up really. And then I will come back to this particular bit. Now I have been thinking as well about how I'm going to go about varnishing these, given if we take into account how much the stripper streaks down the sides. If that happens with the varnish, it's going to look terrible. Well, it is obviously something I've been thinking about, and in a way, if I do it properly, I don't need to worry. Because if I do it properly, I won't be applying too much, and I'll be wiping excess off pretty quickly. Also, because these are quite big, chances are that I'm probably going to do two sides together, so I can focus on making sure I don't drip there, right? And then as I turn it, I'll be cleaning off any drips that would have gone to this side, and then I can make sure there's no drips here. So I'm hoping I should be okay. But it is something I will have to be aware of, and if I'm too excessive with the varnish, it's going to end up a mess. And we've got a little bit of a chip out of the wood here, so let's see if we can sand it smooth a little bit. And I could carve it out. You know, it's not a bad idea actually. But I'll see how I'll get on with the sanding. Because the thing with this, it is rough enough. I mean, it's 100 grit, so it is rough enough to sort this out. And really, I should be wearing my mask, so I will put that on. Otherwise, I'm going to end up being blowing sawdust out my nose. Yeah, so I could carve this, but I mean, I might be better off carving the other bit first, just to help give me a cleaner edge to sand down. Now, I don't know how much I'm going to get done today. I haven't really got much else planned, but I did wake up. Well, I slept for about 2.5, 3 hours last night. Woke up not very well. I think I'd fallen asleep on my back, so I woke up with stomach acid. So yeah, it wasn't a pleasant awakening. I had to get up and be up for a while after that. I did manage to get back to sleep for a few hours, but I think I woke up about 3, went back to bed about 7, and I probably only slept for a couple of hours then. Yeah, I don't even know what the time is now. I think it's still morning. So yeah, not had a lot of sleep at all. But anyway. Well, it's almost early. I know I said I wasn't going to be sanding this loads. I mean, I'm only doing this because it is a proper chip out of it that if I didn't sand it smooth, it could potentially become a split. Yeah, so this, it is quite a split on, well not split, but I mean if I don't smooth it off it is going to become a split. The question is, if I carve it, it'd be easier to deal with. Okay. Question is, where's my carving stuff? It's been a while since I've used it. Oh. I'd be surprised that it's in my small toolbox, which is exactly where it is. Let's go with that one. A little bit hooped. This just makes it a hell of a lot easier to deal with. So see straight away, instead of having a big split and what have you, it is now there are no splits or holes, and I can now sand it. I'll keep that there for a minute in case there's any others that I haven't seen. Ends and the grooves. So the groove still needs doing on that one. Hand's just cramped up. Oh, it needs to crack, which it's not going to do. Let that go there. Let's get in the groove. I think what I'll do with these is I will sand all of them and then clean them all after. Because once I've sanded them, I'll be able to give them a vacuum and also vac up any loose sawdust. So when it actually comes to wiping them down, I'm not going to be basically just picking up shitloads of sawdust that I could have got rid of with a vac. Okay. Right. Select number one, and we're about to have a bin truck go past. Called it Bindi. Right, I'll turn this around so I'm working on this. This is the one that I was saying has got a lovely pattern on that side. I do like the lighter wood, the darker wood. This is taking quite a toll on my hands. I am actually having to use more force doing this than I was for the stripping. If you're wondering why I don't just use a power tool, because, well, a couple of things. One, with a power tool I could easily go a bit too far with it than further than I want to, so it's about control. But also because my hands are struggling anyway, holding the power tool would be even harder. than doing it like this. So I would end up with less control and being more pain. So it's kind of catch-22. And one of the reasons why it is taking a bit more of a toll on my hand is because I am trying to be a little bit forceful, because where there's a few streaks on here, I want to see whether we can sand past that. Because if not, we're going to have to need to reapply the stripper. Which it looks like we're going to have to do. Which isn't a problem. I mean, it should deal with it fine. I just need to put it on and leave it on there longer than I was. But at least doing this, it gives me every opportunity to be once these are sanded and cleaned up, I've taken off as much as I can, so the chemical will be going straight onto that bit. It's not going to be trying to fight through anything else. I'm just contemplating whether I take a break after this one, just to let my hands recover. I'm thinking I might have to, but at the same time I don't want to give up. But I wouldn't be giving up. I don't want to stop. Yeah, I want to get it done. Come on, keep going, Dave. See if we can get it finished off. Get it finished off, give it a clean, and then we know we can chemical next time. Which I'm hoping will be today, but we'll see. to be honest, it'll all depend on how I can cope physically today. Okay, let's go through this video. I'm doing an open palm technique, see that helps, because the next time I wasn't doing it properly. Coming in. I know I'm not talking much on this video, but mainly it's because the more I hurt, the more I kind of have to focus on what I'm doing, and my brain's focusing so much on what I'm doing, I forget to talk. Now, I mentioned one of the videos about attention to detail. If I didn't give a shit about attention to detail, I wouldn't be cleaning out these grooves. I could have just varnished it with them as they were. It would have given a darker look to them, but it wouldn't have been clean. So at least by doing this I can make sure that it's clean, but I can still leave it looking a little bit darker. But I'll know that it's been done with. I'm going to try and show you, it might be difficult to see on the camera, but okay, so that groove has been nicely cleaned out, and then if you look at this one, you can see that it's full of shit and it's gunky and it's quite dark. Well, a lot of that dark is residue of the chemicals and taking the varnish off. And obviously we don't want that on there. Okay, let's get this one done. This one's really pattern. Put a nice pattern there. Oh, that was grinding. Might be arthritis in the hands. So what I'll do once I've finished sanding this one down is I'll turn the camera off while I back up and give these a little vac. Then I'll pop the camera back on for when we're wiping them down, because like I said before, that's the first sort of, that's what gives us the first kind of indication of how these may look. Now, yes, they still need a bit of work, and you may be wondering where's the point in cleaning it with white spirits if you're just going to put more chemical on, but it's just about the white spirits cleans it well, it neutralises it properly, and then we're starting that next phase from point zero basically. Here we need to settle down. Let's do that bigger sheet though. Well, I said bigger sheet, it's a smaller sheet, but it's a bigger grip. In hand. It almost looks like it's glue or finish that's bulked up there, which it might be. Probably another sign of someone trying to do some kind of repair and not quite getting it right. Fuck's sake. It's annoying this because today's a day that I've got quite a bit of free time to do as much on this as I can, and I'm alerting too much. It's very annoying, but I shouldn't get annoyed. We've been doing a lot recently and it's taking its toll. There's a bit more varnish left on there. Now it might look like there's loads of varnish here, but it isn't. It's just the colour of the wood. It is weird though how those pieces of wood have been put together. mean, it doesn't look like these pieces would have been put together as one in the table leg as such. Or have they? Well, yeah, they have. But it's all more like someone's made a core and then someone's made a board of multiple pieces of wood. And then it's been trimmed. I think as well, once I have got these, I've given these a clean up, I definitely am going to have to take a break. Not what I can do with my hands as well. This is something that gets me like a cake. So, if I was doing this as a job where I need to be working 4 to 8 hours a day, at the moment I've lasted 30 minutes and I already feel I should have given up about 15 minutes ago because of how much pain I'm in. Okay, so obviously we've got quite a bit of sawdust everywhere, so I'm going to take a break for a few minutes, give these a vac up all the sawdust that I can, and then we'll come back when we're about to give these a wipe down. Alright folks, right, let's give these a wipe, shall we? Can we come down? I've just moved the camera a bit. I'm going to move it a little bit more so that you can hopefully see it a little bit better. Now we've stripped it, we've sanded it, vaxed it. Now we're going to white spirit it, and then we shall leave it for a while, and then if we're up to it later today we shall have another go at stripping it. But looking at the weather, it looks like the weather might be turning a bit not nice, which would mean not being able to have the window open. Okay, so obviously we're doing this to get this clean, but also we get to see the kind of colour. Now on the camera it might not show up as the best colour. Like on the darker wood it is looking very nice, and on the lighter wood It actually doesn't look too bad. It might not look as good on the camera. Oh. But also, I mean, this is a much lighter look on it at the moment than what was originally on it. Obviously it was much darker. And I'm hoping that, well, basically I'm hoping that the dark oak varnish that I'm going to use, I'm hoping the first application is going to sort of look similar to this. But then as I start applying it, it's just going to get a deeper and deeper finish. I don't want to go down the route of staining it, because to be honest, the wood is very nice and it doesn't really need its colour changing to really dark. I mean, a little bit darker than what it is there, yes, but not sort of mahogany level of darkness. I mean, at the moment it's kind of like a golden oak colour. Which I do like, as I said. I do want it to go just a little bit darker, which it will. Now, if I could get close to that kind of darkness on all of the wood, it wouldn't be too bad. One of the difficulties though is that obviously we've got different pieces of wood that are different colours, but that's perhaps where my thinking about it is different to what it was originally, where this wood is really nice, even though it's a bit weird, it's nice. But the previous finish on it was basically to make it all the same colour. So it really was sort of very dark and thick. And that's not really what I want. Camera. That's nice. Now I am going to have to leave these for quite some time to dry. Obviously they had a lot of chemicals on them over the last few days. Oh, then with this white spirit as well. Yeah, I'm going to want to make sure that it's completely dry before I do anything else on it. Right, let's get in there. Oh. looking lovely. It is odd though on the camera, it looks really weird with the different colorations of the wood. I know I'm sat here saying it looks really nice, but then looking at the camera, I can imagine you looking and thinking it looks really shit. It is very different in person to what you can see on the camera, and it's probably because it's not all a uniform piece, it's not all the same colour. Now normally I'm a bit of a perfectionist and like the idea of everything being the same, but this is kind of chaos within order. So all of the legs are exactly the same, but every single one of them is unique. Now in a way I am glad that I will be able to find out if the dark oak is going to work on this. How I would like it to before going to onto the table. Now with the tabletop, I've been doing a bit of thinking about that, and any resin work that I'm going to do on it is going to need to be done after it has been after it has had the majority of its varnish. So if I'm using Deep-Oak on the legs, and I'm going to use Deep-Oak on the tabletop, then all of the Deep-Oak layers need to be done before I do any resin work. And the reason for that is that if I do coloured resin work but then apply a slightly coloured varnish that will affect the colour of the resin, then it fucks the resin. Whereas if I apply the stain first, the idea would be that in the grooves where I'm going to put the coloured resin, that is not going to come all the way up to the top of the table. It's going to be slightly below level. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is to try and get a bit more of a 3D effect to the grooves that I'm going to have. So I want the blue to not quite be up to the top, and then it'll have clear put on the top of it. So basically any resin that exceeds the grooves will get wiped off. So the fact that it's been varnished already isn't going to matter, it's not going to harm it. There then will be an application of clear resin, which is probably going to exceed the top of the grooves a little bit, and that is then going to need to be sanded back a little bit. Now because that's going to need to be sanded back a little bit, that's why I'm not doing the blue all the way up, because when it needs sanding back a little bit, I'm sanding blue. I don't want to sand blue, I want to sand clear. Now when it comes to sanding the clear, there's a good chance that it could damage the varnish that will be on there, the Deep-Oak. But that's part of the plan, because what we'll do is we will sand I will sand where the grooves are, where the clear resin is, but we will also sand the rest of the table. So the whole table will actually get a sanding. Now you could say, why not do that after putting the resin in? Do all the resin work first and then do the dark oak varnish. Well, the dark oak varnish could change the colour of the resin, and then I'd have to sand the resin, and if I have to then sand the resin, I'm also going to be sanding the varnish. So it's kind of like catch-22. So basically I'm going to need enough layers of the deep oak varnish on the top that when it comes to sanding down that what should be a very small surface, we're not going to go through all the varnish to the wood, we're going to go through a little bit of the varnish. So I am expecting to have to apply many coats of the deep oak varnish. Now once that's done, obviously we'll be able to apply clear, and as many clear coats as we want, and to be honest, I want a lot. Well, at the moment I'm thinking I want a lot, but it'll all depend on how it looks. I'm still unsure of exactly the pattern on the tabletop, but we'll get to that. Once these legs have been varnished, they're done, they're out of the way then. The only thing I've got is the tabletop, which is going to have to start off with taking off the bits that are damaged or not going to be replaced, and size up the pieces that I do need to replace. And then there's going to be obviously quite a bit of stripping on that, which unfortunately could be a little bit awkward because the table is much bigger than this table I've got here. So I don't think I'd be able to do the tabletop here, which means doing a bit of chemical stripping in the living room, which I'm not overly keen on. But I may not have a choice. But if I can at least get it so any of the bits that can come off I can bring into here and strip that, that'll at least make it a bit easier. But we've seen how messy it can be doing the stripping, but at least if it's just one flat surface it should be a lot easier. Right, anyway, that's me done for now. So yeah, good progress. The legs, they are going to need, I am going to need to strip them a little bit more because they are still, there are still a few streaks on it, but we shall worry about them later. Right, have a good night, excuse me, and I'll see you again soon.